Here's another project I've been wanting to do for a while. I would really like to remount this wet grinder setup. It's pretty janky. Um, it's not the nicest looking setup, but it is functional. These pulleys seem to slow it down enough to where it feels like it's running at the speed it's supposed to be. But anyway, it's just a simple grinder on a piece of wood, and there's just not much to it. But one thing that has been bothering me is this old wiring. It's in terrible condition all the way up to the motor, and I would just like to replace it real quickly and put a switch box on this thing so I can just quickly reach over and turn it on and off. So that's something I'd like to do today, but thought I'd make a quick video about it and maybe learn something from feedback with you guys if you have anything you'd like to add. But I'll go ahead and get started, and we'll see how it goes. Looks like we've got a couple of these, I guess they're 90-degree bend connectors, which I did not expect. I expected eyelets, so that's different. But yeah, I believe I have something that should work, and I'll go see what I can dig up. The new cord I'm using is actually something that I salvaged from another appliance that I had laying around that I put out for recycle. So it's about the same length, probably 10 feet of cord, and it should work just fine. So I'll find some connectors and we'll get started on that part. Something that just caught my eye is this, I guess it's a ground. I've never noticed it before, but I wanted to make a note of it. I don't know if I should incorporate that into the wiring or not, but I'm going to go ahead and remove it for the time being and do a little bit of research, find out if that's something I need to reinstall. So anyway, it hasn't been connected for years, so I have no idea if it's necessary or not. A lot of these older things, these old motors like this just have the two wires, so a ground is always, a nice safety measure though, so I'll look into it. Thought I'd give you a closer look inside this thing. That's the top post, and there's the bottom post. You can see the little flat male connector ends that are sticking out next to the posts. I think I'm just going to convert this over to eyelets and screw them down to the nuts. If at some point I've come across some 90-degree connectors, I might switch it back over to that, but for simplicity's sake I want to use what I have, and what I do have is the eyelets, and I don't see any reason why I couldn't just do it that way, so I'll go ahead and convert that over to eyelets, put the cover back on, and then see how it comes on. Alright, so got my wire stripped. Just going to use these little blue eyelets and wire them back up. I don't know much about this old motor. It's two wires. I'm going to match the white wire on this one to the white wire on the lower prong. I don't know if that's right or not. I'm just going to put power to it, turn it on, and make sure everything's running correctly. I figure the worst case scenario is I'll wire it backwards, and then I'll quickly just switch it back around, and it should run the right way. Do I know if that's 100% correct? No. Do I know anything about being an electrician? No. But I'm pretty confident it's not going to be a catastrophic failure. So could be wrong, but so be it. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get these crimped on and then bolt them to their posts. And I'll go ahead and plug this into a surge protector I have nearby, and just flick it on, make sure everything's turned in the right direction. And that's it. As far as the electrical is concerned, it seems to be wired the correct way. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little switch box, probably right here, because it's pretty close, and see how that works out. I'll need to get a few things together and we'll get into that. So this is the receptacle I plan to use. I went ahead and knocked this knockout out and put the cable clamp in, and I'll end up doing the same for the other side. But what I plan to do is just use these. They're fairly inexpensive and they're pretty heavy duty, so if I bang the grinder around on something, I don't have to worry about the housing cracking. So that's just what I plan to do. So I'll go ahead and get it mounted right here. I'm using some little wood screws, some 3/4 inch wood screws with washers. It's just something I had laying around, and they should work well. I was afraid to use something longer because of the depth of the plywood, but this should work pretty well. So we'll go ahead and get it screwed down and get the wire cut to length. So that's about the length of wire I'm going to need to get to the switch. Should give me just a little bit of slack. So I'm going to go ahead and get these stripped and ready for the switch. So I took the screws off the side of the switch, and I think I'm going to go ahead and use eyelets on these as well, and I think that'll work out pretty well, be pretty clean. So I'll have one wire that goes to the switch, the other wire I'll just use a wire nut and connect it to the rest of the extension cord. So we'll go ahead and get these connected. So now I'll go ahead and get this other end of the cable stripped and put the eyelet on it, and then I'll butt connect the two black wires together and see if that works. Alright, so I got the wire stripped. I'm gonna go ahead and put the butt connector on. Feed it through the box and then connect it to the switch. Just going to use this cap to connect these two. Then connect the rest of the white wire to the switch. Go ahead and connect or tighten the fire connector down. Okay, so cover's on. Switch is wired up. Let's see if it's gonna do what it's supposed to do. There it is. And like I said, this whole mounting setup is pretty. This whole mounting setup's pretty poor, so I plan to redo it. But I wanted to go ahead and get the switch wired in, just as a little project to do today. So there you have it. I think the only thing I had to go to the store and buy was the receptacle box, which was like $2 or $3 altogether, with the connector tips on the ends too. So the connector nuts. So fairly inexpensive. You could probably use a heavy-duty extension cord that's been damaged or something like that, or an old appliance cord from maybe I think these were some sort of like an air purifier or something. Just one of those things that needed to go. So anyway, I'm glad to have a new cord on this thing, and we'll make some further updates down the road. But in the meantime, thanks for watching.